It's time for the Wally Methot Show. Now, here are your hosts, Brent Wallace and Marc Methot.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Wally Methot Show. I'm Brent Wallace. He's Marc Methot. As always, this show brought to you by sportsinteraction.com. Go to sportsinteraction.com/Wally Methot for the most competitive live daily odds. Sportsinteraction.com is Canada's online leading sports book. And by the way, Meth, had I probably bet last night, I would be down a few dollars. I thought for sure that Tampa would have taken this one, but we'll get into the playoffs in just a second. Also coming up in the show, Drake Batherson, who is now headed over to Europe to play in the World Championships. We'll talk a lot about the World Championships coming up as well, because Matthew and I are very familiar with the tournament. As always, today's guest brought to you by, the cool, refreshing taste of Whitewater beer. Try the new flavor, Kiwi Lime, sour, funky, fresh, or the other new flavor, which is called North-South. It is a Nordic Pale Ale, Meth. I've never heard of Nordic Pale Ale. Have you?
No, they've got so many beers that are constantly coming out. Wally, I don't even know where to begin, but no, that's one I want to try out.
It is extremely good. It's like a nice summer evening. It calls for a North-South Nordic Pale Ale beer, I'm sure. And if you aren't sure with my assessment, because you question me all the time, go to the website, shopwhitewater.ca, and mix and match your order. You can try all kinds of new flavors if you want. You can get it at the LCBO, but don't do that because you can save 50% by using shopwhitewater.ca. Use the Wham-Funky Fresh coupon, and you're all set. Whitewater beer is brewed by friends for friends. So with that said, let's get on to the show, shall we?
Good idea.
First up, the draft lottery and how it affects the Ottawa Senators. Okay, before we get into where they pick, this is the dullest event that the NHL puts on. It is. There's no atmosphere. There's nothing around it. And once the team wins, you hear nothing. It's just, and here's your winner, the Montreal Canadiens. I'm disappointed.
Yeah, no. And I saw your tweet about that yesterday, Wally, where you're kind of calling out how maybe they need fans, but I don't know. I feel like that's complicated. I mean, how do you get a few fans representing every team that are going to give you a couple cheers? Like, would those random cheers from 5 people be awkward? You know what I mean? Like,
so could you have a viewing party in each city? And when your team is picked, you pump up the audio a little of 50 people in a bar cheering your team. And maybe you have the other team as well, and you hear the boos, because I think that'd be a little more fun.
It would be, a little gamesmanship. And I think for me though, it's funny you say that though, because typically, I'd like to lump in on the NHL, like as far as like sometimes they do some stuff that might come across a little corny. I feel like we're always a step behind some of these other sports, but when it came to the draft lottery, the way they have it set up now, you're avoiding the ping pong ball thing. You're just Daly's coming out with the cards. I liked it because it was just quick and efficient, like 20 minutes and it's ready and it's done. And you know what pick you have.
But I feel like it's a Jeopardy final answer. Like, let's go to contestant number 1. And what is your answer? Like, it's just very dull to me. I don't know what the answer is, Matt. I appreciate that I'm throwing it out. I just wish there was a little more excitement. Like, the NHL does some things really well, including the NHL awards, which is better than the other 4 major sports who just announce it in the middle of the afternoon on some game of a play. Like, it just doesn't make sense. Right. I do appreciate that. I would like them to find a way to add pump in some fake noise for all I care. Just do something.
Yeah. Well, you know what? We can both agree that it could be livened up a little bit more, if you will. But I mean, for me, at least from my perspective, I'm glad they haven't made it this big, long spectacle of a show. It's pretty quick. I like that you find out right away. Yeah.
I don't understand all the rules because they just made it a little more complicated this year with all of a sudden you go, why Jersey.
Do why do they do that?
You know why? People were upset with Edmonton and New Jersey always getting the first overall pick. And lo and behold, New Jersey now has the second overall pick.
That was so I'm online yesterday and I'm like trying to break down the math and how they have all the different odds set up and how the Sens can't drop beyond 7 or whatever it may be. I mean, it's so confusing for no reason whatsoever.
It doesn't have to be that way. But anyway. Yeah. Okay. So Ottawa will pick 7th. Montreal will get the first overall pick, which I'm sure I don't really care that they have the pick. If you're GM Pierre Dorian, GM Marc Methot, I'm sure people would get behind this. We're going to make it a Twitter hashtag. What do? Do you keep that pick or is it time to move it on and bring in some immediate help?
Well, and it depends. And I'll preface this with I don't know anything about any of the prospects beyond Shane Wright. I was able to call a game for the an OHL game between Kingston and whoever they were playing at the time. I think it was Sudbury. Shane played in that game, and he had a quiet game. Like he didn't wow me at all. But the timing, the team had a bit of a layoff, I think, for a bit, and they were all back from injuries and stuff. Anyway, I know he's a very good player, and I saw some of the one-on-ones that they had with him. We saw it prior to the lottery yesterday. He's very well spoken. He's a good leader. He's smart. You can tell he's just a passionate player. The comparisons to Patrice Bergeron, that's obviously
that's
high
okay.
Praise. So yeah, those are good. But beyond Shane Wright, and we're talking about the Ottawa Senators now at 7. I don't know. So this is what I'll say. If there is an opportunity that presents itself that you can package that first round pick with a sweetener or another depth player or like a Delzato or a player like of that nature, which I'm sure is wishful thinking.
Yeah.
If it means we're getting in return a top 6 or top 4 on the back end, I think you do it. But that's coming from a place where I don't really know who these young kids are that are coming in. So maybe there is a stud that I'm unaware of that Ottawa has their eyes on. Like, what are you thinking?
Well, if there was a stud at 7, we would all be well aware of how deep this draft is. And nobody has ever said this is a really deep draft. All due respect to the players, because if you're picked in the first round of the National Hockey League draft, you are a special player. But
totally.
That being said, I think if you can move that pick, because this team right now doesn't want to wait 3 years for that pick to develop, but maybe even 2 years. They want to win now. So they want a solid they need a top 4D. I think before they do anything else, you need a top 4D. Because guess what? In the playoffs, as you know, you need defense to win. You can shut down offenses, but you can't play it with a porous D. So if they're going to be a playoff team, they need to have a better blue line. So with that said, I would move the pick without question. We put all this high praise on draft picks, but it doesn't necessarily translate to mean it's going to be a bona fide NHL player in your first round pick. Yeah. So take what you know and move on. And if the player develops, good for him, but it's going to be a few years to get your needs taken care of and priorities in line. And without question, I'm moving the pick. Wait, let me preface that by saying, if there is no trade to be made and nobody wants to give up whatever the Sens want for that, then fine. But I think that you're better suited to move the pick.
Yeah. And that was very well said, because I think from my perspective, same as you, Wally, because I know there have been some people online suggesting you always go with the pick, or lean heavy towards the pick. You can never have enough of them. Yeah. But I think how well this is a credit to Ottawa's drafting, right? And their junior scouting, they've drafted so well. They've got so many NHL or fringe NHL ready players now that, as you just mentioned, I think they can afford to move that pick. But again, there are probably scouts out there and all the media guys that do all the junior work that are aware of some of these young fellas that might be coming in that might have an impact. And that's another thing, Wally. Some of these players that are coming in now are having more of an immediate impact than they have years prior, right? Like it's so skill-based. So, but I think you're right. I think we can both agree the draft is very thin. It just is. I mean, the fact that I don't know hardly any of these players beyond Shane Wright kind of speaks volumes. Usually you'll hear more about the odd top 10 pick. Anyway, we'll leave it at that. I think if Ottawa has an opportunity and it presents itself, you move the pick for a good player. Otherwise, you hang on to it and you groom that player up.
I do think the top 3 are pretty good. Logan Cooley, I think, is next, and then it's the Slovak player, and I'll butcher his name. I apologize, but he at the Olympics, I think he had 8 goals or something. So
yeah, you're right.
Like there are exceptional players, no question. I just think I shouldn't. Logan Brown, I'll use as an example, and I don't mean to, but he's the Sens. He's top of the mind. Is a very, very good junior player, and so the Sens were all right in selecting him. But I just don't know that we knew that he was not going to translate, or that at this particular point he was going to translate into the NHL. So that's all I'm saying is you don't know that these players, and everybody thought he should at 6'6" and all that stuff. It just didn't fit. So move the pick for a team that wants a player in that spot for something they're willing to give up. That's all I'm trying to get.
I agree.
By the way, on the move, because I know when you love it, I bring these stupid cliches up. I talk about Boyd moving, by the way. Want better pay, more respect, more job security. It's time to move to Boyd Moving. If you're an experienced mover, truck driver, or just hardworking go-getter who wants rewarding work, then it's time to turn your job into a career. Apply today at boydcareers.ca. Boyd Moving we keep Ottawa moving and the show keeps moving on. By the way, we'll have to get Troy Mann on the show perhaps next week to have a little chat about the upcoming draft, just to give us a refresher of what's out there. Because if anybody knows, it's Troy Mann. So interesting news also, I guess, this week is Pierre McGuire being let go by the Sens with still 2 more years left on his contract. That's a very odd move. Not releasing him was bringing him in. It just didn't seem to necessarily fit in how this was going to play out. And you knew from how it all played out that it was Eugene Melnyk who brought him in and not Pierre Dorion. So I can completely see how the move played out at the end, with Eugene gone and Pierre wanting him to, I guess, be the lone man on the totem pole. Just a surprise move all around, Meth.
Yeah, no, you worded it perfectly. Initially I understood it because Pierre's got a pretty good, bandwidth of knowledge when it comes to, well, he's so passionate about hockey that he knows a lot of these junior players and a lot of the guys coming in through the system, because he's just so almost borderline obsessive with the game. And I mean, that can always be considered an asset, but you never really heard much from him. I do remember going into the season, it sounded like they were going to use him a lot for the presser related stuff, doing a lot of the speaking and he's good at that. He doesn't need it to script anything. He's able to just kind of speak off the cuff and talk about whatever, because he's so dialed in, but it obviously wasn't a fit that worked out. And as you mentioned, clearly somebody that I'm assuming Mr. Eugene Melnyk brought in at the time, and the timing was odd. That's all. I mean, the fact that he still has 2 more years left on his deal. Is that what it is, Wally? Yeah. So it was surprising. But again, all we can do is just speculate. We don't know as people behind the scene, or not behind the scenes, but on the outside, we can assume and try to speculate as much as we can as to why he's no longer there. I have no idea, other than it probably just wasn't a fit. And we never saw him. It was almost like he was buried early on in the season, right?
So 2 interesting 2 points on that is one. I guess a couple of points. One is I don't believe he takes the fall for Michael Del Zotto. I just believe that Pierre Dorion just wanted to move on from. Why
is that? Yeah, can I ask you a question on that, Wally? So why is I didn't think the Del Zotto move was that terrible. I mean,
of all the moves, a depth guy at $2 million, who, by the way,
that's what I'm saying. They brought in
the National Hockey League.
That's what I'm saying. So because I'm reading that online and everyone's talking about Del Zotto, and I'm thinking okay, I know he's not a legitimate top 4 anymore, but you brought in a depth guy with a wealth of experience that can help out your young core a little bit at least. And he played very well when he went down to the American League and he took it like a champ. So, but meanwhile, they brought in some players in the past. More particular, there's Zaitsev's a prime example of a guy still here making double what Del Zotto made. So I don't like the excuse of falling on the sword for Michael Del Zotto. I don't think that's legitimate. I think that's disingenuous.
And I totally agree. I don't think that's the case at all. The other thing was, you talked about the pressers. Now, this is interesting because, all right, so you're the GM of a professional sports team, and they've just hired somebody else that you didn't really know about. And you're going to say that guy is going to do the pressers and speak on behalf of the organization. If you're the GM, you're not allowing that to happen. That just doesn't make any sense.
I agree. And I don't blame Pierre Dorion for that either.
No.
Yeah. If you're Dorion, if I'm GM or if you're GM, no, we don't want somebody else kind of overstepping and speaking on our behalf. It's just, it's not a good dynamic, and it immediately just creates resentment. Not that I'm suggesting there was resentment, but it would bother me if I had the job, right? So.
I believe there was tension in the office, in the workplace, no question. I also, one other point you made was we didn't see him very much, but from what I'm told, the players did. He was actually around quite a bit and in the room and well liked by the players. So that's the interesting thing of, we never saw him, so we didn't know what he was up to. But in reality, is the players that we've been talking to tell us that he's around the room. So interesting that he's still around. I like that about, he's all in. I will say, he's a hockey guy. He's a lifer. He's always around. So what was going on behind the scenes of how they signed players or how they were scouting or any of that stuff between the two? I know some, but I don't believe it to be 100% truthful in all of it. So there's always 2 sides to every story, but I do know that he was around the team for sure. So the players enjoyed it.
Oh, whatever. You know what? I said, it's obviously just a dynamic that didn't work, right? Like no one really knew what the role was exactly. And this team has always been set in its ways as far as what the pecking order is. Then you throw something in there that can kind of scramble it up, and everybody starts short circuiting. So I think it's probably just a position where they just needed to move on from and start back up from scratch. But this is a big effing summer, right? Yeah. And so whoever they decide to bring in for more consulting or help, it's going to be crucial, because this is sort of that like turning point for the organization where all your pieces are set. Now you just got to find some guys that can help out. And it doesn't need to be a big, huge splash, but just like priority number one is just get that top 6 or top 4 on D. At least get one of them. Yes. Address one of them this summer. And it sends the right message across the board to the fans.
I totally agree. But the problem is, this is one of the smallest front offices, just got smaller a little bit. Like you just lost another brain, if you will. So that's another area. Like they've got to address this at some point. You've got to start to bring in people to fill out your front office. That's all.
Yeah.
On to the NHL playoffs, which have been interesting yet, Meth, I want to say they've been unexciting. Brought to you by BEI, Bonnechere Excavating Inc. Looking to refresh the front yard, do a complete landscape job. How about some landscape stone, some aggregate, maybe thinking of redoing the driveway? Bonnechere Excavating is here to help with competitive pricing on all your landscape needs. Give them a call, 613-432-1120, or go to BonnechereExcavating.com. BEI, helping to shape the Ottawa Valley. Let's start with, are there any surprises for you so far in the first round? We've only got through Wednesday morning, one team moving on, and that's the Colorado Avalanche, who many, except me or you, predicted would win in 4 straight.
Yeah, you're talking. Yeah, no kidding. It's almost like my bracket's been blown up, Wally, like among a lot of other people, right? It's crazy. I don't know. Like we talk about surprises. I'm a little surprised with Dallas that they've been able to keep that series very competitive, and I mean that in the nicest way possible. I'm cheering them on, if anything. I think the sneakiest, toughest matchup that almost in a way was unfair was Toronto's matchup with Tampa, right? As soon as we saw that they were matched up with that 2-time Stanley Cup champ, I'm thinking like, wow, they were dealt a really shitty hand. And we're seeing this series been a grind. But I feel like if Toronto can get beyond Tampa, like this is such a huge turning point for them, where you get all this wealth of experience. You'll learn to finally get out of the monkeys off your back type of thing. If you get past the first round, where I think they're just going to run through the rest of the conference. That's a hot take, but I really do think that if they can get beyond Tampa right now and close the series out, it's going to be a tough team to beat. So, you look across the board. I mean, they've been back and forth, flip-flopping with a lot of these games. And a lot of it to me, has just been a special teams battle, Wally. Yeah. Like, what are you thinking there?
Okay. So hold on. We're going to get to the penalties in a second, but you talked about the grind of this Tampa Toronto series. And I get it to a point, but up until game 5, every game had one team scoring at least 5 goals. There's been so much offense in the postseason. Like, what is going on? When you played, I'm going to guess 3 goals was like an insurmountable lead. And then now everybody scores 3 goals in any given night. I don't understand.
It's crazy.
Tell me what is going on with all the offense in the National Hockey League playoffs.
Well, first of all, the skill is undeniable, right? Every year it's getting better. But from watching the games right now, and we're talking about some very high skilled teams. I mean, we saw the Eastern Conference where all the playoff teams were over 100 points. I mean, so we know that these teams can score. We know they're offensively gifted. Now you factor in, the idea that there's a ton of special teams. Refs aren't allowing almost any stick work, any grabbing, any holding. They're calling all of it.
Yeah.
So these players that are already very skilled to begin with have a wealth of time and space and net front to make plays and do what they want to do. And, I'm reluctant to blame the goaltending, because I've been watching some of these games. We saw the other night, all the tips that have been going in and trying to figure out who's to blame out there on the ice. But for me, really, I don't think it's much deeper than that. A lot of skilled guys. The refs aren't allowing anything. So you're having a ton of special teams. I don't have the stats in front of me though, Wally, as far as the PP goals, the amount of odd man goals that we're actually getting, but it just seems like it's been a parade of penalties. And I know you want to get to that, but that's a big factor into why you're seeing all the scoring.
At what point though, we always talk about this in the postseason I guess, and I'll say the media talks out of both sides of their mouths when it comes to we want you to call everything in the playoffs and stop putting the rule book away. And then all of a sudden they're like, well, let them play, put the rule book. So they're calling everything. At what point do they stop this nonsense of the penalty parade? Or are you okay with the way the games are played of right now with everything being called?
Well, okay. Well, I'll let you tell me how you feel about it in a second. But from my end, Wally, I'm not a fan of it. I'm not a fan of the excessive calls. Like there's infractions and then there's like penalties, like you,
right. There's blatant tripping calls. There's blatant cross checks. I get that. Yes. Right.
So they're trying to set a precedent and they're saying, okay, we're going to call everything sternly. And that's with the assumption that I'm assuming players will inevitably adapt to it. That's some of the comments supporting all the calls that I got on my post on Twitter. The people that were okay with it were saying that, guys will adjust. And then eventually, you'll probably end up getting less of them. And that may be true. But my concern is that you're sucking a big part of the game out, right? Like the physicality, the theatrics, the drama, the FUs between whistles that come from a lot of extended 5-on-5 play. I feel like you take a little bit of that bite out of the game and it robs the playoffs of that raw emotion that you're used to seeing when you're sitting at home watching it on TV, right? Like for me, you mentioned it, Wally, like there's so many goals, but we're missing a lot of the extracurriculars. I'm not suggesting, and I say this all the time, I'm not talking about like stage fighting and all that nonsense, but I like seeing some FUs around the net. I like seeing passion and frustration come out of the players because that's what this is all about.
It's a battle.
So
yes.
Yeah. So that would be my only defense from my point of view, as far as being suggesting there's too many calls. I just think they're a little too trigger happy with the whistle, but you have to stick to a standard. So you can't deviate from that because all of a sudden you're not going to be calling it equally on both sides. So you want it to be balanced, but I think you call the obvious stuff, but all the pushing, the shoving, the small like pushes with the gloves, the slight cross checks, like let those go, man. Let them play. That is my stance. I'm not going to move on that.
Well, you know what this feels like to me with all these high scoring playoff games is October. It feels like this is the beginning of the regular season.
Sure.
The refs have been told this is how we're going to call the year.
They just got the memo.
Yeah. Yes. It's awful. Like I haven't enjoyed the first round of the playoffs because it's just wide open. They're just calling everything they can. And it just slows the gamers are bogged down. There is no passion per se because of you don't know if you face wash a guy, if you're going to end up in a penalty box. So I'm with you. The extra after the whistle stuff, it is the NHL playoffs are the hardest grind in professional sports. And you're taking that away and making it a special teams event. And that's the only part I don't like. If you're going to like, how are you possibly going to call this game like this in the Stanley Cup final?
I don't know.
You get through the playoffs and then all of a sudden you're in the cup final and you're getting all these penalties or you're getting none. And then nobody understands what the call is.
Well, and that was my point. And I'll keep it short here because I know we're kind of going on a rant, but I don't like that it's a special teams battle. That's what I don't like. I don't like that you're relying on your special teams to win these games. Those are bonus. Those obviously are a huge factor. I'm not denying that. I'm not suggesting that there's, shouldn't be any calls, but I don't like that. This has been the major talking point now for most of the series has been the officiating. And it's not that the officials aren't good or competent. It's that they're doing what they've been told to do.
Correct.
And it's to call a strict, stingy game. And now all the attention, at least from my perspective, when I'm sitting down is like, okay, this game's flowing real nice right now. It's been going on for about 3 rotations, about 3 minutes. Oh, they're going to call something any minute now. And that's, to me, an issue that needs to be fixed. I don't know where you begin. I don't have the mind for that.
Well, I think there was 5 power plays in the first period of the league.
Yeah, and that's too much. Okay. So like, think about it. You're just sitting there on the bench. So if you're not, whether you're a PK guy or you're a power play guy is irrelevant. You're sitting a ton and you're not getting your consistent shifts. It's going to affect your play. Now, I know there's a fine line here, and I love the offense. Like for me, I love the speed. Like I'm not going to disagree with you, Wally. I think it could be better, but I still find that the first round has been relatively entertaining, but I think it's because I'm just very vested into the Toronto series and all that stuff. But I do think it has been pretty entertaining. It just, like you said, And like I was suggesting, it's lacking that raw emotion and bite that we would typically see.
I think it's been soft. So that's
fair enough. Hey, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. I can't fight you on that one.
Like, so if you're a shutdown D in the postseason, as you've been in your career, like, are you enjoying this? Are you enjoying seeing 5 goals being pumped in? Like,
we'll say this is good because I'll be able to send Craig a picture where I believe I'm eye gouging Crosby. I think it was in the playoffs. I never got a penalty for it.
Right.
It was in a scrum. Yeah. So I'll send it over and he can post it during this. But this isn't me trying to just talk about Sid. He's an unbelievable player. I'm just saying when I was playing, it was fun because there was a lot of that stuff, right? There was always scrums around the net and it created more animosity and you just hated players. Like we saw a little bit with Maroon yesterday in the game. He was doing a little bit of gamesmanship with some of his opponents, some of the fans. I love that. It's so entertaining. So all we're suggesting here, and I think Wally, you're on the same page. We both agree. It's just lacking a little bit of that extra curricular stuff that otherwise we're not seeing this season.
There's no bite. That's all.
There's no bite.
You know what they're calling it? Like, I feel like they're calling it like an international hockey event where everything gets called. And speaking of which, the World Championship's set to get underway. I think in 2 days, maybe 3 days. Brought to you by sportsinteraction.com. Go to sportsinteraction.com/Wally Methot for the most competitive live daily odds. You can also place bets on the World Championships where we see it's a plethora of Ottawa Senators being over there. Just on Canada alone, you have Drake Batherson, today's guest, by the way, Thomas Chabot, Nick Holden. Then DJ Smith is the assistant coach. You got Dom Nicoletta, the athletic therapist, John Forget, the equipment manager, Alex Menendez, the equipment manager, and Tim Cregan, Dr. Tim Cregan, team physician. Also, former Sens on the team, Eric O'Dell, Chris Drieger, and then Andre Tourné, the assistant coach. Like, it's a Sens buffet of players and staff. I love the World Championships. You and I both chatted about this a lot. Good for these guys to get over there. I know for Drake, it's his first time. How about Nick Holden? I think it's a surprise addition. On Team USA, by the way, Austin Watson named an alternate captain. Good for him. We all know he's a leader type. So it's good to see that being acknowledged. It's an interesting time. I love the Worlds. Again, it looks like it's been a struggle, though, to fill out these rosters.
Yeah. Well, yes and no. I mean, the roster, I was looking at it too, and I'm in the belief that it is significantly better than last year. Last year they had so many issues convincing guys to go over because of the COVID protocols, right? So like Luongo, I mean, it looked like a disaster after 3 games, and then obviously they bring in Andrew Mangiapane, I think, comes in to help, and for whatever reason, that one man was able to help turn this entire tournament around. They go on and win. So, but just looking at that lineup last season, you thought, oh boy, like how many players did they call and ask, and how many turndowns did they get before they finally got their lineup? So, I think it's better. It's big. I mean, they've got some size. They're by and large the biggest team at the tournament when you're looking at the average height and weight, and they're like 10 pounds heavier on average than almost every other team. So, they're bringing a real NHL roster over. It's on the big ice, so it's going to be challenging, but forgetting about all that, you mentioned all the Ottawa Senators heading over and representing their countries respectively. I think that's terrific. You miss out on making the postseason. You get some more reps playing at a high level overseas with new players under new coaches. It gives you new perspective. So you learn a lot. I mean, when I went over there, and what I was lucky when I went over there because there were some real good teams. It was leading up to the Sochi Olympics, I think. I forget what Olympics it was, but they had like a very rich roster of players, right? Like all the guys were coming over, like Perry, Getzlaff, Tavares, Spezza, they were all there. So I was able to kind of watch and observe how they prepared for games, and it really helped me a lot. Their habits on the ice. So that's what a lot of these guys, particularly the younger ones, are going to see, and it also gives them more confidence, Wally. So they're going to head over there now, and they're going to practice with some other really good players. And they're going to be like, wow, I'm as good as this player. I'm as good as that guy. And I know I've said that before, but it's going to be huge. Maybe not necessarily for some of the older guys like Holden. For guys like Holden, it's just good experience. He gets to go enjoy himself. But for the younger guys, it's going to be real good for their confidence going into next season.
Yeah. And Thomas Chabot says that after 2019, the years get confusing after a while, but I think it was 2019. Him and Matthew Joseph were there. They just talked about, just being around that group, being around. They'll have Claude Julien there. Rick Nash is going to be Shane Doan on the management side. Like there's a lot of outside things that we don't see that they get taught. And they just get to hang out and pick brains and do that. I love the World Championships. But it is like, we talk about, it's never about the hockey. You ever know, and you know this perfectly. I believe like there's beers constantly in the locker room to chill from and relax with. Like you would never see so much in the NHL world, but it's such a relaxed atmosphere. It's never about necessarily winning. It's about meeting people, hanging out, that life experience of being somewhere else. Yeah.
And another thing, I mean, it gave me, and I'm still convinced to this day, that summer I went there. That was my last. So it was my last year in Columbus as a Blue Jacket. And then I got invited to go play at the Worlds. After that World Championships is when I got picked up by the Sens.
Right.
And I know they had scouts like Rob Murphy and exactly. Yeah. And they had guys over there scouting. And I remember running into Murph on the plane. And I believe I even told Murph on the plane, I'm like, hey, I'd love to play in Ottawa. Like I told him that. So I don't know that even had any influence whatsoever, because Murph's a good dude, a big fan of his, but you give yourself more exposure. So you're a young guy, all these other general managers, people like these random people that are involved in the front office or scouts, they're all going to be there watching. Good opportunity to give yourself more exposure as a player, particularly if you're playing in a smaller market. So I'm excited to see how this plays out. Tim Stutzla in Germany, he's going to be a superstar there. Lots of swagger coming off a really, really good second half of his NHL year. So he'll be flying out there, Wally. Oh, yeah. I'm pumped to see what he can do.
Yeah, no, it'll be fun to watch, and we'll be glued to it. I know you're doing some work as well for it. So with that in mind, here is Drake Batherson, which is brought to you by Whitewater Beer. Go to shopwhitewater.ca. Use the Wham-Funky Fresh coupon code, 15% off. Crack open a cold one, sit back and enjoy our chat with Drake Batherson. Drake Batherson, before you head over to the World Championships, thanks for stopping by to chat with us for a little bit.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me back on again.
What's the excitement level for you to head to your first World Championship?
Oh, really excited. Obviously, any chance, the opportunity to represent Team Canada, you gotta be all over that. So I had the chance to go last year, but with my contract situation, my agents figured it was better to just stay home and not risk getting injured. So when I got the call this year, I was jumping all over it and excited to go.
Is this the first time you've been back to Europe since, well, I don't even know, like a toddler?
Yeah. So I moved to Canada when I was 8 and I haven't been back since. Our family never went on vacation like growing up. So I haven't been back since I was 8 years old. So I'm excited. My old man's coming over too for the tournament. So
nice.
It's going to be fun.
And you got a couple familiar faces joining along with you there, Batherson. You got who's Shabby and Holdy are going?
Yeah. So Shabby's going, Holt's too. So I know a lot of guys on the team actually. So it's going to be pretty fun and
awesome.
Obviously DJ being there too. So it'll be easy, and a bunch of our trainers and medical guys will be there. So it'll feel right at home, I think. So it'll be fun.
I looked at the lineup, and I want to say almost every player on this team is over 6'2". Like you guys are sending a legitimate, pretty big team. Have you spoken to any of the coaching staff? Have they talked about it or what the plan is? Obviously winning games is going to be number one, but do you have any idea who you're playing with or anything like that at all?
Yeah, I don't know. I actually seen your tweet this morning about that. There's only one guy under 6 feet or something. So
yeah.
I don't know if they realize the ice is a little bigger over there. The fast guys might be a little better, but no, it'll be fun. We got a good team, I think. So, but as far as lines and stuff, I have no idea. They had their first practice yesterday, so pretty jealous I couldn't be there for it.
Fair enough.
Yeah. There's also Chris Drieger. I don't know if you know Eric Odell. Who else do you know in that lineup?
I know I played with Dubois in junior. Played with Comtois in the World Juniors. Who else do I know? Noah Gregor. My dad played with his dad in college. They're really good buddies, but I don't know him as well. So have that connection. I'm trying to think off the top of my head right now. Graves, he's from Nova Scotia. Know him really well. I wish I had a list in front of me, but that's all I can think of off the top of my head.
So it's okay. It wasn't a test. I didn't mean to put you on the spot.
I got a bad memory, so
okay.
I need them.
You're known as a bit of a fashion guy. So how much have you packed for this trip, which is upwards of 3 weeks long?
Not much, to be honest with you. I'm the type of guy, I pack light, and if I need something, I just go shopping on the road to get whatever I need. So,
Bath, that's what we were doing when I went to my first World Championships, I overpacked. That's the advice I was going to get to, is that you get so much free Hockey Canada shit that you barely get through half your clothing that you packed up with you. And then when you do go shopping over there, like I did when I needed more underwear, it was like €30 per pair. It was insane. So pack a lot of underwear, but don't worry about bringing shirts and jeans and stuff, because they're going to have you guys wearing a tracksuit and shorts around the hotel all the time.
Yeah. No, I was making a list on the notes app there the other day on my phone. I was like, 10 pairs of underwear, 10 socks, 10 t-shirts, 2 pairs of jeans, and we're good to go.
Nice.
So I'm sure I'll have to go shopping eventually, or put my laundry into the rink for the boys to do or something, but we'll figure it
out. Have you talked to any former teammates, like as in Nick Paul or Connor Brown, or who have won, or any of that, for advice at the World Championships of what to expect?
Yeah, no, I feel like Connor Brown and Nicky talked about it for the first half of the season this year every day. I mean, they both had amazing tournaments last year, obviously winning gold. It was fun to see. And then Shabby's been the 2, I believe, before. So we've been chatting a bit about it. We played a bit of golf this week talking about it. So no, heard nothing but good things. Obviously it's known as like a fun tournament, but you go there, you want to win too at the same time. So no, I'm excited to get there and get it going.
Because Meth and I have both commented all throughout this show is that how great the World Championships are to experience it once in your life, at least. It is by far the favorite event that I like to cover of all hockey, because as you said, it's super relaxed. It just, right. You get to show up at the rink. There's no pressure. You have one usual media guy, maybe 2 bugging you through the day. It was me, and that'd be it. It's fantastic. It's just a really good time, and it's a great city.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, exactly. And I feel like after a long season, that's just perfect. You kind of go there. It kind of feels like a men's summer league, but at the same time, you're playing for a gold medal. So I'm sure when the puck drops, it'll be all business as per usual. But in between games and stuff like that, it's pretty laid back.
The biggest adjustment, I think, just to your point there, was I think the calls. Like, you're going to notice. You're going to have a new appreciation for the officiating in the National Hockey League and how good it really is, because you go over there and like you might lay a stick on somebody, or you might hit somebody too hard.
You got
Not
suspended.
That you're running around, Drake. Yeah, I got suspended. Yeah, I slammed a Belarusian kid's face in the glass. But you're gonna notice that. So keep your stick down. And the thing is with you is that you're already an established player. Like when I went over there, I was still sort of young and trying to kind of make my name for myself. For you, like, you're playing with a bunch of players. You're probably going to be on the top line. I'm not going to have you word that out, because I know you don't want to make any assumptions, but I think for you, it's just like, just try to score goals. Cause I'm looking at this heavy lineup and I don't know that there's a ton of finish. So they're probably going to be looking to you on a lot of those power plays.
No, I mean, there'll be a ton of good players there, obviously. But I played against pretty well all of them, I think. So that'll be fun. There's a few skill guys in there too, so it'll be interesting. Hopefully, play with a few different guys and see what we can do. I'm looking forward to it.
Are there any wagers with other fellow Senator teammates on various other World Championship teams, like perhaps Tim Stutzla?
Yeah, no, we're lined up to go on game 1, so we've been chatting about it a bit. I don't know if there'll be any wagers though. We'll see. But if he's willing to make a bet, I'm probably accepting it. So we'll see what happens.
Is Stutzla just gonna like walk around there with his head like sneering down at everybody else, like acting like a rock star in that dressing room coming in? The way he finished the season. I'm assuming his confidence is going to be really high. What are you expecting with Tim Stutzla in the dressing room with Germany?
Oh man, I think he's going to be unreal. He's got obviously brings a ton of swagger. Just an awesome kid, but like you said, he was so chattive in the room the second half of the year, and I remember like Hamnick coming in and kind of just like Timmy would say something like chirping guys to put money on the board or something. Hamnick's kind of like,
who is this kid?
But it's just like Timmy, and he doesn't mean it. He's just joking around, and he just wants to have fun. So
good. I love that.
No, it'll be fun, and the big ice for him over there. I'm sure he's gonna have the puck on his stick the whole game. So it'll be fun.
How much did his game change in the second half based on his just confidence level? Is that what ended up being the difference, or was it because he changed so much on the ice, he gained more confidence? Does that make any sense?
Yeah, no, I think when he moved to center, you're spilling the puck all over the ice, and he's a guy that can just kind of take it and skate it out of the zone. Where for me, I like getting the puck and looking to dish it to my centerman. So him being a centerman, I think he could just skate the puck out on a breakout, kind of like Shabbat does. He kind of just can skate it out. So and then obviously brings a ton of confidence, and he was scoring a lot, making a ton of plays. So when you're doing that, for me, myself, I know my confidence is through the roof. So I'm sure it's the same with him when he's doing that.
Okay, so here's the question I should have prepped you for before I asked it. Would you rather play with Josh Norris as your center or Tim Stutzla?
That's a tough question. I mean, two different style of players, I think. I played with Josh in the minors, and obviously play with him a lot in the NHL too. Really good shooter. So when I get the puck, I'm looking to hit him right away in the slot or whatever he is. And with Timmy, I feel like we can just kind of make plays and kind of feed off each other. It's tough. Both unbelievable players. Both are going to have amazing.
Smart answer.
If I'm playing with either of them, I'm happy.
Absolutely. Is Nick Holden the glue of the Team Canada room?
Oh man, Nicky's unbelievable. Like, I don't know how he does it. He has 4 kids at home, comes into the rink buzzing like all hours of the day.
That's why.
I'm like, man, you must have been up with your kid at like 5:30 this morning, have 2 pots of coffee, and you're like, I'm rolling in. I wake up at 7:50. I'm out the door by 8, walking in at 8:15, just still half asleep, and this guy's just bombing around. I'm like, holy smokes! But he's awesome. It's like hanging out like with a rookie his first week in the NHL. He's just so excited every day. He's amazing, and he's an older guy, but he acts like he's like one of us, which I love, and at the same time can be the older guy to us. So he's just a great fit, and I'm sure he'll be the same way over there with Team Canada.
Speaking of bike helmets, have you ever been served in a bar by a shirtless guy wearing a bike helmet and sunglasses?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Couple times for sure.
How did that night go?
Oh, it was a good time.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, boys were having a bit of fun there, obviously, and Chucky being Chucky, serving drinks there behind the bar and stuff and catching it, just having a blast. So, no, I had a few adult beverages on him, and it was a good time.
That's good. Can you make a good drink?
I think it was on the stronger side. I don't think behind there. He was just kind of mixing and pouring this and that. So no, it was good. It was a good drink, I think.
I know you were asked this question at the end of the year about your ankle injury and coming back. You only got to play 15 games. Now, keep in mind you had 4 goals and 10 points in 15 games, which I think is impressive because a high ankle sprain is arguably one of the worst injuries to have of trying to get back skating. Did you? How long did it take you to actually start to feel comfortable playing in those 15 games? Was it really near the end?
Yeah, it was tough. I remember like my first skate after, I think it was 6 weeks completely off the ice. I was like, oh my God, I am never coming back. Like, this is going to take, I could barely like push out powerful, and the leg it happened on is like my strong leg. Like, that's what I used to kick in soccer. So I was like, okay, that'll be a little better because it's my stronger one. But it took a while, honestly. I don't think it's still 100%. I mean, I'm not going to make excuses, but definitely wasn't like where it was at the start of the year. And I could just notice it from watching film from before I was injured to like when I was playing the last 15 games. It just wasn't there. But obviously wanted to get back playing, and wanted to get over to the World Championship to play some more hockey before my summer, just to get more reps. I guess I missed almost half a season, so I just want to get a few more games in and get the ankle feeling. I'm sure it'll feel even better there. 2 weeks off now before the tournament, so it'll be good. I know
you probably have talked about this at length, Drake, and you probably don't want to talk about it now, but with that Aaron Dell situation, I mean, I was angry for you, legitimately. I rarely get mad, but that like when it comes to me not involved, I'm just a spectator at this point watching the games. And I was so pissed off because You don't have any idea that it's coming. Steps into you. Obviously, I'm not trying to relive it for you. My question is, had he ever reached out to you afterwards? Like, did you ever get a text message or anything acknowledging the play, or was it just he kind of ghosted?
No, yeah, I think that's like the unwritten rule in the league. If you kind of injure someone, you kind of reach out after. I don't know. I think that's the way it is. But no, he never reached out or anything like that, which, I mean, whatever.
Anyway, I know I don't expect you to slander him. It's just amazing that he never, especially a dirty play like that. I mean, I got a text from Crosby after he by accident caught me on the finger, like, and it was an accident, right? So if a goalie steps into me, are you fucking kidding me? Like, not a text, nothing.
No, it's just one of those things, I don't really get up to full speed much out there on the ice, and I was going full tilt there. So,
I know.
And just obviously went in, and then the way I got up after the injury to skate off, I put all my pressure on the sprained ankles, which probably made it even worse. But I just had my old man growing up always told me, if she ain't broke, you better get up, because it wasn't. And I just could hear that in my head as soon as I went into the boards and tried to get up and wobble back to the bench. But no, I mean, whatever happens, it's in the past. So
So right now, is it roughly close to 100%? Is that safe to say, or maybe not totally?
Yeah, I don't know. It's hard to say. I mean, I'm excited to get home. I got a good treatment guy who's going to look at it, and obviously my trainer. He was Sid's trainer, and Sid had a high ankle sprain earlier on in his career. So he knows how to deal with that and knows the training we got to do. So it'll be good, and I'm sure I'll be feeling 100% at least by next camp. I'd have to imagine.
Good. Yeah.
I was going to ask you if you talked to Sid, because I think it was either him or Malka. They both had them, but one of them missed like 30 games due to a high ankle sprain. I don't remember if it was Sid or not, but did you discuss with him about how for treatment or just how to go about it? Or did you talk to anybody that's dealt with it before?
Yeah. So it was Sid. Sid missed 2.5 months. We played them shortly after the injury. So I got the chat with him after the game and before the morning skate about it and stuff. And really similar injury to his. So it's good hearing from, especially a guy from him, like him, about the injury. So he just said to take my time. And I heard from guys that it lingers on, but honestly, I had one little bite in the 15 games. So, and it was from someone hitting on it, not even from me turning or whatever. So, which was good, because I heard some guys have troubles with it for like every game. So no, I'm happy it's where it's at, and our trainers did a good job. So no, I'm pretty pleased that there
didn't seem to be an issue on your last goal of the season, which, for those who don't remember, it's in New Jersey. You completely embarrassed Ty Smith and then dance him for the winner. Where does that goal rank for you of the, I believe, 40 career NHL goals that you've scored?
Probably number one. I mean, first NHL goal, probably the most memorable. And then as far as the nicest, I would probably have to say that one. It was just cool. I've never scored an overtime winner before either. So I think I had one my whole time in the minors too. Like, and maybe like a couple in junior. So I've never really been an overtime goal scorer, and to just do that in overtime was pretty cool.
How many messages did you get after that goal?
Yeah, I think it was like the day before my birthday.
Yes.
So with that, my birthday combined, I think I woke up in the morning of my birthday with like 250 messages or something.
It was such a disrespectful move too. Like that, like an overtime toe drag. Like if I'm Ty Smith and I get posterized like that, I'm so rattled. And I mean, it lives on. Like a goal like that will live on, right? Because it'll be in highlight reels when there's the next top 10 toe drags. Perhaps it'll be on there, right? So anyway, we were all so impressed with that goal, man. I mean, to have the poise to do that under that kind of pressure in OT, because I feel like anytime there's a turnover in the offensive zone, it almost always ends up being an odd man rush going the other way. So obviously that was not a concern when you went for the toe drag.
Yeah. No, I love those overtimes where it's just like 2-on-1s back and forth, guys cheating all over. I mean, I'm sure our coaches don't like that, but if you're a fan, you're just, on the edge of your seat. So you're loving it. But no, it was cool. And it was a fun night, big time. Yeah.
I was going to ask you about the coaching staff. Do they ever say much about the odd man rushes that go the other way in overtime?
Yeah, well, it was funny. Like the 2 games before, I was kind of like cheating a little bit. Me and Timmy were out there together, and they kind of called us in. They're like, "Boys, like, come on, like, just take your guys." And then we went out there together, and then we scored like 2 days later. So no, it's funny, but in that point of the year, the points didn't really matter, I guess. But obviously, we're still trying to win, and just cheating a little bit to get the OT win there, and lucky enough happened. But I'm sure overtime at the start of next season, I'll pick up my guy.
Would you prefer a shootout or just 3-on-3 to end overtime?
Someone asked me this last year if they could change one rule in the game. I said like just continuous 3-on-3 overtime until the game was over. I mean, it would suck to play the next night. I think if you play about 6-7 minutes overtime, but
Yeah.
It'd be fun for the fans. I mean, shootouts are hard. Like, I think it's underrated. You look at guys that are like Kane and Taves that are 50% in their career on shootouts. I think it's unbelievable. I think I'm like two for 10 or something, maybe. So, no, I think the overtime's the best part. I think.
But if you had to vote, like you wouldn't want to extend that, would you? Like to me, like with all the games throughout the season, we did a little panel hit talking about that. And I shot it down. I'm like, there's no way the NHLPA would ever allow it because all the skilled guys don't want to have to skate any more than they have to, right? Like it's a long year.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, I mean, most top end guys are playing 20 minutes already in regulation, and then it's a 10-minute overtime. If you're a guy
Too much.
Like Matthews or those guys, you're going out every second shift. Like that's another 5 minutes, and then you're playing back to back. Like it's too much. But if it was a shorter schedule, maybe. But like you said, it'd be tough for sure.
I just think it gives more time to the third line guys. I just think give more time to the other guys than the ice.
But Wally, no coaches aren't going to be like, okay, and this. I know. Boy, I'm not making fun of Austin Watson. I mean, he's my boy, but I'm saying, like, I'm not. If I'm DJ, I'm not going. Okay, Watts, you're going to go out, and so and so, like, you're going to go with your top 2 lines for sure every time. No.
I would just like to see them mix it up.
Yeah. Anyway,
everyone gets a touch out there.
That's right. Everybody has to play one shift of overtime.
Roll the bench. Let her.
Yeah, there's no chance that's ever happening. So you mentioned Drake. You mentioned a little. You touched on kind of as a joke talking about next season. Last in a row. I mean, I think the elephant in the room is the starts, right, with the Ottawa Senators and the struggle and how far behind the 8 ball you guys got. Did DJ touch on that in the end of the year meetings, and what was the expectation level with the group going into this summer? Obviously, I'm sure he's talking about nutrition and not going on a bender every weekend and lifting weights, all the cliche stuff. But was there anything like kind of significant that he mentioned as far as goals going for next season?
Yeah, no, that was the biggest thing to start. I mean, I think like the last 2 years we come out of the gate and like smoke Toronto both times, game 1, and then we don't win our game till like game 9 or 10. So it just can't happen. You can't get behind the 8 ball that early, or else you're just chasing it all the way to February, and then by that time you're out of the playoffs. So that's been the case for us the last 2 years. So if we can get out of the gates like 500 throughout the first 10 games, even that.
Yeah, no kidding.
And then I think we're adding more preseason games. So this year, I think we're up to 8, which is a lot. So you're
absurd.
Playing at least 5 probably, I would say.
How do you feel about that? Like if the coach comes up to you before, because I've got my own side of it, but like if he goes, Drake, how many games do you want to play? Like, what would your answer be if you were being honest?
Like 3 or 4.
Yeah, that was my answer. It was always 3.
Yeah,
all at home.
Well, you know, training camp, like, so there's like the 3-hour rule in training camp. So you practice for 40 minutes, you flood, and then you play a red versus white game. Yep. So that's kind of a game there. You're rolling 3 lines for 40 minutes straight. So that's pretty much a full hockey game there. So you add up all the red and white games plus the preseason, you're at like almost 12 games. So
I know. And it just blows traveling during preseason because you're playing with, and it's no slight at the guys, but you're playing with a lot of like junior players and some American League guys. So you're not like with the usual suspects, and you got to fly to like Winnipeg for a day game.
Just gonna say Winnipeg.
So 3 games is the number.
Yeah. I mean, the preseason games are the hardest games to play too, because everyone's flying around like
chaos,
trying to make a name for themselves, which, I mean, I get it. I was in the same position for sure.
Yeah.
It's just like ping pong out there. The puck's just going everywhere. Everyone's kind of running around. So they're tough games to play in, whereas in, a regular season game, everyone's in their positions. It just kind of flows. Where there, it's all over the map, but that's what it is, and I don't think it'll ever change.
Fair enough. So I'm going to one more time, I'll ask you. So DJ didn't actually say anything other than we're looking forward to next season and that's it. And I guess I'm assuming you'll probably get more answers at training camp.
Yeah, exactly. Pretty much just, talked about the season a little bit and the expectation going into next year. And I'm going to my 5th year pro now. I haven't played playoff games since my last year junior. So I want to push for a spot. I know all the other guys on the team want to, and see what happens this summer. Maybe get a couple guys to help us out. And you never know. That's the thing about hockey. You never know. So get off to a good start and get rolling, get in a groove, and anything can happen.
Fair enough.
Were you concerned going into this year about the pressure of signing that new deal and having to live up to it at all?
A little bit, for sure. Yeah. I think I put a lot of pressure on myself just to be good every night, let alone having that in my head about the contract. I just want to be good for myself. If I go home and have a bad game, I'm pretty rattled for that night. I can get rid of it by the next morning, but I wasn't really too worried about the contract and how much money I was making to perform at a certain level or anything like that. I just wanted to, I'm always pushing myself to be better every day, whether it's practice. I mess up a rep, I'm pretty pissed off about messing up that rep. You know what I mean? So I just want to win and be as good as I can every night. That's the only real pressure I put on myself, to be honest with you.
So the one thing about your season, despite COVID and the injury, was the consistency. And we've always talked, Meth and I, about to stay in this league and to be good, you have to be consistent every night. There were only twice this season, 2 times, that you had pointless droughts of 3 games. That's your longest drought this season. That's really hard to do when you are a high-end player, to not have any drought like that. I guess when you look back at your season, where does that, become a factor or a feather in the cap of being able to do that night in, night out?
Yeah, no, I think it was one of the things after my first couple years pro going in the summer, that was a topic in my ex and me, and just being more consistent, being a factor on most nights, and the nights you're not getting those chances offensively, you got to chip in other ways, whether it's, getting pucks out, finishing your checks is, something I focused on the last couple of years, and I think I'm getting better at. So, but no, just like I said, the consistency was the thing I wanted to work on, and I didn't know that stat till you brought it up. So no, I think it's a good sign, and credit to the guys I was playing with. Played with some great line mates all year too. So no, it was fun.
They're okay.
Are you, Drake, on that note, when you talk about your line mates, and this isn't, obviously you're not throwing anybody under the bus, but you obviously with injuries going on had to kind of hop up and down between that first and second line. Would you prefer staying with, is that the plan right now for the Sens for DJ, is to keep you guys up on that top line all together next season? Did he mention that, or are you going to be maybe a little more flexible and dropping down with Timmy?
Yeah, well, I know for the last, when I came back off my injury, the plan was to play with Timmy for the remainder of the season. And then, obviously losing Brownie and stuff, things kind of changed, but I know we wanted to try me and Timmy out for a while. Cause we didn't really play together since the start of last season. So, and coming off the injury, I kind of want the consistency to play with the same line. So we were playing, I think it was me, him, and Formy for the first little bit. And I was like, okay, perfect. Because coming off an injury, you just want to get back in the groove. I'm sure it was the same with you. You wanted to go back with your D partner and just play with them every shift. So it was kind of the same with me. And then I was kind of getting flip flop between lines, and it was a little hard, but I played with both of them before, so it was obviously a little easier. But yeah, no, I think next year if we can solidify some lines and just have that consistency, it's just way easier night in, night out. So we'll see what happens. We'll see what goes on this summer with the players and that going in and out. So we'll see, and I'm sure we'll figure that out in training camp next year.
Have you ever met Claude Giroux? I'm just kidding. Don't answer the question. I'm just kidding.
No, I haven't. Funny story. That guy was he was one of my favorite players growing up. I loved watching.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, he was a right shot centerman. I played center all the way up till pro, so just a playmaker, really smart guy. So my old man always told me to watch him when we were watching hockey growing up. So no, he was a great player, and got to play against him a lot. I think I played against him my 4th game in my career, so I thought that was pretty cool. But
interesting. I'm gonna actually go. I didn't plan to ask you this question, but I looked at your numbers. I'll say like U15, U16 in that area. You didn't have these stellar numbers. Like there were nothing. You weren't dominating at all. Did you know that you were going to play and be this good in the National Hockey League? When did you like? And it's a legit question. Like when did you think that you had a shot at the National Hockey League?
Yeah, a lot of people ask me this. Like I remember getting cut from the U16 Team Nova Scotia, which was they made that team to go to a tournament right before the Quebec Major Junior League draft. And I got cut from that, and I was like, oh, I'll probably never play in the queue. So at that point, I was a scratch golfer at 16, won my men's club championship. And there was a bunch of guys from Nova Scotia going to the golf route, getting full scholarship and stuff like that. I was like, oh, perfect. Like I loved hockey, but I'll try to get a scholarship for golf. And then I remember running into guys at it's called Cavendish Beach Music Festival. It's a country concert in PEI. Remember running into Noah Dobson, who plays in the Islanders now. I was like, yeah, man, like, I don't know if I'll play hockey again. I think I might just go to the golf route. At that point, I was 16. I was like 5'4", 130 pounds. So obviously wasn't ready for junior. And then the following season, played midget again, and then got drafted the 6th round, whatever. And then I didn't really know I could play in the NHL to the World Juniors, honestly. I was in the World Juniors. I was like 13th forward, and kind of found my stride and had a good tournament. And I was playing with a bunch of first rounders. I was like, oh, maybe I can do this. And had a good finish to junior, and then came in the pro and just kind of found my stride. So yeah, I wouldn't say to the World Juniors, to be honest with you. Yeah.
So what? Okay, so many questions. So what changed then? You said you were like what? You were 5'4", $160. So did you just have like a huge growth? No, like maybe now that might have been exaggerated, but I mean that's the question I have is like at what point was your play like? Because you went from like not making Nova Scotia to all of a sudden mentioning the World Juniors. I'm like, so in between there, what was like the hump that you got over? Was it just like more maturity and physically maturing, or what was it?
I got a funny story. Grade 12, I'm playing junior A. I'm 5'11", 150 pounds. And our season ended early, and there was 2 months left in school. And I had this trainer. He was a football player on the university team back home, and he was a big old lineman. I was like, dude, what do I got to do to put on weight? He's like, man, eat whatever for 2 months straight till the end of school. So I literally I would get 10. My mom would pack me like 3 sandwiches, like chips, you name it, and then she'd give me $10. So at lunchtime, I'd hop in one of the boys' cars, McDonald's every day.
Every day.
It's either like McDonald's, Burger King, Wendy's, like Toonie Tuesday. Like I had it all figured out. Wing Night Wednesday. I was going to everything. Put on 30 pounds in 2 months.
Oh my God. Okay, but were you like some fat slob walking into the gym every day?
Like I wouldn't be able to get up and down the ice. I just didn't go on the ice, did nothing for 2 months. And it was like 180 pounds right before prom, but like I was still 5'11", 180. So I was just like, not like fat, but just like,
I need to see a picture of this. Oh man. Yeah, okay. Fair enough.
I'll find one for you. So, and then I was like, oh man, it's time to train this summer. I'm like, okay, I'm probably going to weight, but I was able to maintain that. And I went into camp at 5'11", 185, played my first year junior and got drafted after that.
Wow.
Season.
So this is like pretty much the worst advice you could give to most kids listening.
Yeah, no, I just couldn't find any way. Like I was always doing stuff as a kid, so I could never keep weight on. I was playing golf, doing hockey, whatever.
Yeah.
So I just had that moment in grade 12. I was like, well, I'm not doing anything. I'm just going to school, so I might as well try. And then it just happened to work out. And then 8 months later, I'm at Chicago draft for the NHL. It's just
crazy.
It was a crazy.
Good for you.
Yeah.
So now you, at this point, depending on where Connor Brown plays in the game, you are the oldest top 6 forward on the Sens roster most nights. Like at 24 years old, how old do you feel?
That's crazy. I never thought of that. Yeah, I guess with Formanton, Timmy, Josh, and Chucky, they're all younger than me. So
yeah,
I don't know. 24. Yeah, I think when I hit 25, I'll be like, whoa. But
yeah. Jesus,
I know. You're going into year 5 next year. It's crazy how time flies.
Yeah,
I mean, like it just I can't believe it. I remember like I was watching the Belleville playoff game the other night. I'm like, man, over 2 years since I played there. Like it feels like it was yesterday. So no, it's crazy.
Okay, I got a legit question then about Belleville. When there's so much chatter about if you can win in the AHL, it teaches you into the NHL. I believe that is not true at all. I don't think there's any correlation to the two. And I've heard players talk both ways, kind of depends if the coach is around or not. I don't know that winning in the AHL translates to the National Hockey League. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, no, I've had this conversation before. I remember talking to Boro about it. I think when they won, they had a bunch of guys that played like the next year, and then same thing with like Cleveland. I think it was 2016 they won, and then had a bunch of guys go to Columbus. It's tough to say because I mean I never played in the playoffs down there, but you know my second year we were first place in the division, had an awesome team. We're looking forward to the playoffs, and I think it more helps you like off the ice. I mean, I never got to experience the playoffs, so for me it was more off the ice, just like living with billets. Everything's done with you, right? Where now you got to go out, you got to set up a credit card, you got to pay the phone bill, like you got to do everything for yourself. And I don't know, it just kind of helped me grow up off the ice. I found which helped me, you know, now in the NHL. I feel like, but it's hard to say because I never won anything or in the playoffs down there. But I mean, I'm sure it doesn't. I'm sure it helps, obviously, in the playoffs and stuff. But like I said, hard to say for me.
Speaking of playoffs, are you watching the National Hockey League playoffs?
I have been, yeah. Had nothing going on the last week, so I've been glued to the couch every night and watching.
So is there any particular former Sens teammate that you're cheering for more than others to win the cup?
Yeah, I mean, I'm loving watching Paulie right now. He made a great play. I think it was game 2 in Toronto, and I just texted him after the game. He got right back to me after. I just loved it. It was like a fake shot backdoor. I was like, what a play, buddy. And he's like, thanks, buddy. Like a little chatter like that. But yeah, no, I'm watching all the games, obviously cheering on the Nova Scotian guys. And yeah, it's fun hockey to watch. It's so much more physical than the regular season. It's unbelievable.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, hopefully experience that soon. It's fun watching. I couldn't imagine playing.
Will you grow a playoff beard if you're in the postseason?
Yeah, whatever beard that is, pretty scruffy one. But I'd give it a go for sure. I'm pretty lazy shaving it. I didn't start shaving until last year, like probably 20 games into the season. Yeah, 23 years old. So.
Oh, that's awesome. The nice thing is though, the nice thing now is that like the league is so young, as Wally mentioned, you're one of the older guys on the team. I feel like playoff beards are sort of going extinct. Like you don't really see them anymore, right? Like it's mostly just young guys that have a little bit of scruff and like random like pubic looking hairs on their face. So I don't think you've got to worry too much, Drake.
No, I mean, I wish I could grow. Like my old man had a big one in COVID, so I'm like, okay, it's in the genes somewhere. Like, 10 years down the line. But no, we'll see. I would love to be able to do one. I would probably let her rip and get a mullet and just away we go. But
that would be great.
Yeah. So hopefully soon.
There's a picture that was floated on the internet of your grandfather. And I don't know, Meth, if you've seen it. It looks strikingly, ridiculously like Daniel Alfredson.
I have.
Yeah. The captain there for the Cape Breton University team.
For the Capers, yeah. Like it's crazy how close they look together.
Yeah, no, that's where I learned it all from. That's where it all started from him. They won the national championship. I hear about it every time I hang out with them. So seen that on Twitter there yesterday or the day before, or whatever it was. It was pretty cool. He's a legend there in Cape Breton, I feel like. So it was cool to see.
Fantastic. Do you have any summer plans to travel anywhere once the World Championships are over?
Not much. I'm not much of a traveler, to be honest. I never did it growing up, so maybe I'm just not used to it. But if I didn't go to World Championships, I probably would have gone to a beach for a week, all inclusive somewhere. But yeah, not much. I got a nice spot on the water back home, so probably just hang out there, do lots of fishing, lots of golfing, and yeah, that's about it. Not much, to be honest. I'm pretty laid back in the summer. I like just chilling.
A bunch of them at the end of the year went to Nashville on a golf trip. Were you a little jealous of not being on that trip?
Yeah, so I was supposed to go, and then I canceled like probably a month before the season ended. The Worlds, like I was planning to go to the Worlds like the whole last month of the season. So I told the boys that I couldn't go. I didn't know the dates or when I'd be leaving the Worlds. So I just said I was out. And then I see all these videos of them golfing, and I don't leave to the Worlds. I think they just finished it 3 days ago, so I would have been able to do it. So no, they had a nice cabin right on the course, rented out. So pretty jealous. Awesome. Yeah.
Well, I see everybody's golfing. Alex Formanton was at Trump National, I think. He just posted the other day. Like, it seems everybody's getting out and playing.
No. Oh yeah, golf's taking over. I feel like it's hard to get a tee time nowadays. Ever since COVID, everyone's joining. I know a bunch of people join. So
same issue here in Ottawa. It's the same thing. The tee sheet's full all the time because everyone's working remotely now, right? So they do punch in a couple hours at home and then they're on the course. It's such a pain in the ass.
Like today I'm driving down the main road and I see all these people out for runs. I'm like, what day is it? It's a Monday.
Yeah.
You're back home at the dead zone. Like, you don't even there's one car at the red light. Like,
yeah.
No, I guess, everyone's working online now. So they're out walking their dogs or doing whatever. So yeah, it's different.
Well, I don't want to keep you because I know you're getting, you got to get going to Finland. So we appreciate the time, Drake. As always, we'll be cheering for you and watching all the highlights. When you light it up over there, you can dedicate one goal to Meth, if you would.
No. Thanks for
okay. I don't even know how to finish that off. Yeah, Drake, good luck, man.
Take care. As always, our thanks to Drake Batherson. Great interview. I thoroughly enjoy the guy because he's got a great personality, which is something you're seeing, I believe, more now in today's game than you used to see. Meth, right? Is a little bit of personality.
Yeah. He's such a well-spoken kid, and you can tell he just has it all figured out. It looks like it would take a lot to rattle a player like Drake Batherson. That's the impression I get from him. He's just a chill guy, takes it one day at a time, doesn't get too excited.
Okay, so I asked him an unfair question in the interview, and that is, would he rather play with Josh Norris or Tim Stutzla? Because what's he going to say?
Yeah, that was a shady question, but I respected it. I mean, I know, but it is a legitimate one.
But the point is, and he was very good with it, is they're two different players. So what's better for your game is the question, I guess, I was looking for. And so,
right,
where do you see him play? Would you rather him with potential 40 goal man Josh Norris, or I don't even know if Stutzla is a goal scorer or a setup guy, but I feel like he's perhaps more of a playmaker.
And that's the question. And Drake's a playmaker that does have scoring touch. So the vibe, if you will, that I got from the interview, and I'm sure you're probably going to agree with me, was that it looks like he'd rather stay up on that top line because, you've got nothing but chemistry set with that. Like they've been playing together now, despite being so young. They played a ton together now as a trio, right? So I the vibe that I got was that he would rather stay on the top line, but then that would make sense. I mean, I don't think that's a slight at Tim Stutzla, obviously. Like, they're all super good, close friends and all that, and Stutzla is an incredible talent.
Yeah.
A player like Stutzla, you need a shooter. You need to go after a guy like a shooter that can obviously get up and down the ice. We're talking about a really good player here, of course, but they need a player that can play with him, that can put the puck in the back of the net. Because Stutzla, with his foot speed, how he draws his opponents towards him in the D zone. Like when Timmy has the puck and he's doing those like laps and he's carrying it around, he's got it on his tape. Everybody gets drawn to that, whether it's just staring at him or it gets guys out of position. That's where having that trigger man. I don't want to say like a Josh Norris. I know you can't just find 30, 40 goal scorers anywhere, but get a guy that can find those soft spots around the face-off dots and set up shop. I mean, that's going to be a deadly second line. So I think I feel like you would agree with me on that, Wally.
Well, people are currently yelling at whatever device they're watching this on, going, Kevin Fiala, Claude Giroux.
And I don't see it. Like Giroux will never hurt you. He's a terrific player, but he's a bit of a setup guy. And I hate saying that because he's not just a setup guy. He's another goal scorer, but G is an older player now.
Yeah. We
have to stop going after those old guys. And beyond that, I don't even see him coming here. I mean, it sounds like he's loving his time in Florida. And I'm not going to make any assumptions for him because I'm not texting him or talking to him, but I can't imagine him coming back over to Ottawa over the offseason. I don't see it happening unless he wins a cup, maybe. But other than that, I don't see it happening. But they need to go after a guy. Fiala is a good option. I agree there, Wally. Yeah. That is a great option. I feel like that's the only player that I've heard being floating around here for the last 6 months.
Yeah.
There's got to be other options.
Well,
too,
yeah. See, and I think that's the trade market, right? You've got to get to the trade market, which leads you back to the 7th overall pick, on and on.
Exactly. You won't know until you get there.
Right.
Yeah.
Interesting. So my point would be, if they can't find that top 6 guy, then Drake Batherson almost has to play with Tim Stutzla. Because because if you do that,
so you think he'll play on that second line?
Well, if you leave Batherson with Norris and Tkachuk, you don't have a legit second line that can wheel around, right? You need Stutzla with another quality top 6 guy. And that's why I think you got to break it up if they don't get the top 6. But are we overlooking Connor Brown once again? Connor Brown could score 20 goals.
I don't think we're overlooking him because he's such a smart player. I worry about slight regression. Like, he's a great player. I'm not chirping Connor Brown. Like, I'm a huge fan of his. I do worry about the regression and playing at that speed. Like, Tim's a very fast skater.
Yeah.
And I don't know who they're going to put on that left side, but it could be a player like Joseph or Formanton or vice versa, I guess, left or right, depending on which player. But you have to understand that if you got those two together, and Brown can skate. So I got to be careful here because his foot speed surprises me at times. But I worry about the longevity moving forward. And it would be that much more beneficial to have a younger guy come in and like stick with this line for the next couple seasons. Then you develop legitimate chemistry over your top 2 lines. So, but you're right though, Wally. Connor Brown has been overlooked in this conversation. I just don't think he's the long-term solution is all I'm saying.
I understand. I just think we as a group don't appreciate Connor Brown's ability as much as we should. That's all. I
agree.
By the way, I'd like to welcome into the show now, as we always do each and every show, Craig, brought to you by Gong Show Gear. Go to gongshowgear.ca. Look under collaborations with the Wally Methot gear and pick up some Wally Methot merchandise as always. Craig, it's nice to see you and your playoff beard, which is going to lead me into postseason. And like Meth, I thought maybe you'd grow a playoff beard this year. Did you enjoy the playoff beard tradition, or has it just become annoying?
When we won the Memorial Cup with London, because they do the playoff thing in junior with the beards,
I thought it was the dyeing of the hair bleach blonde.
Well, there was that too. Yeah, you look back, and I'm like, we were like, you look like a clown, but that's just, I feel like that's hormones and being a teenager and thinking you're just cool and different. But like, man, my point is that last year when we did win, we went the whole way saying like we made a collective agreement just to shave. Like, we were clean shaven. We're the only clean shaven at the Mem Cup, at the Memorial Cup. I shouldn't call it the Mem Cup. And, but then at the NHL level, I'm a little older. I can finally grow a beard. So like that last playoff run I had with Ottawa, that was the longest I ever had it. And I like it. I think for some guys, it looks good. I mean, it looks scary. You look a little meaner. It's a fun little thing to do, during the playoffs as it progressively gets longer. So I'm okay with it. I had all my shaving products with me on the road, Wally. Like, I'd bring my beard oil, and I try to straighten it a little bit as much as I could going to the game at Madison Square Garden. And then of course the Pittsburgh series, it was that much longer, but I miss that. I was a fan of it.
Was there grooming tips in the locker room about how to control the beard? No. I don't remember Eric Carlson's beard like, being very much. I figured if there's one guy
can grow. Yeah. Yes. But not everybody can grow a legitimate one. Like, look at Craig. He's got like a full beard.
Yeah.
You and me, Wally, don't grow full ones. I feel like I'm sort of in between you and Craig, and you're probably more like baby faced, right, Wally? Is that fair?
Well, no, but mine just comes in gray, so you can't see it.
Okay. Grow it out.
Well, yeah, you should no. So like early on, I was tired of shaving because that's how I used to have to do it for my career all the time. I could never have facial hair. So there was a couple episodes in, and I didn't shave, and people were like, "You need to stop and shave right now."
I know, but Wally, you have to let it get. So if you only let it go for 4 or 5 days, then it just kind of looks like you're disheveled and, you've been on a bender or something. But if you let it go for like a week or two and it starts to actually come out, then it looks good. I'd like to see what you look like. Okay, Craig and I have never seen it.
I've seen stubble.
Nobody.
But that's about it.
Yeah, I've never probably gone more than 2 weeks without shaving. I don't think.
I went an entire regular season once and let the beard grow. It was ridiculous. It was like 9. Yeah, I remember it was after the 2017 run because I was talking with Freddie Clayston and he was talking about how fun it is to grow the beard out, but his doesn't grow that good or something.
Yeah.
And he was like, I should grow it out for the year. And I was like, let's do it. And he forgot about 2 weeks into it. And then, but I was like, let's see what happens. And I figured by the time we got to stay, like, it was huge. So it was fun, but I mean, that's the fun thing, right? Is like, you get to do it. You're around the guys a little bit. It's something fun to do. Media guys don't tend to do the playoff beards that much though.
Well, I wasn't allowed. So maybe even though at Movember, they wouldn't let you have facial hair except for like 4 people on air. So, Bobby Ryan always comes to mind as a guy that never had a playoff beard. When you had teammates, Meth, that didn't get on board with the playoff beard, was there anything said, or you just like, whatever, just do what you want?
We didn't care. I wish I had like a juicy, funny comment, but like, you don't care. Once the playoffs start up, you're so focused on yourself, because there's so much pressure and stress. You're not worried about another guy's facial hair. It just doesn't work that way. So if someone wants to shave, they can shave. It's the whole superstition thing though. That's gone. Like, guys are still grooming their beards during the playoffs. They're cleaning up their necks.
Yeah, you got to.
Yeah,
do the
like
neck.
you don't want
It's
that
so
dirty,
bad.
scruffy looking neck. It's
just
gross.
rubbing on your gear, and it's going to do more harm than good. Yeah. You don't want that.
Yeah.
Do you remember not active? Like, I think of Joe Thornton with that big, and Brent Burns, that big long beard. If like you get into scrums and people start giving you face washes, they're going to start I'm assuming they're pulling on that. Like, it's got to get uncomfortable at some point. No,
I mean, we saw Thornton get one. We saw it once happen.
Oh, the big clump of hair.
Audrey pulled his hair, and then they fought, and there's like a huge chunk on the ice, right? But it didn't look like he lost anything. That's how thick that thing was. But how Thornton grows that beard out and how fast he's able to do it is incredible. I don't know what he's taking, but that thing has a mind of its own. Yeah.
When we take a summer break, I will see if my wife will let me grow out a beard.
Yeah, in the summertime though, I feel like
I don't have any other time
to do it.
But if you do it during the season and people are like, why is his face look so messed up because he's trying to grow out a beard?
Well, maybe start it up in like August. You know what I mean?
We'll see.
Okay. All right.
Fair
I don't know where we're going with that, but
Greg,
how you doing, man?
I'm good, man. I just realized we're dressed the exact same, so that's what I was worried about here. Like, shit, I kind of look like mini Meth because you're jacked. Anyway, it's fine. We should have swapped this earlier, but I didn't. Anyways, it's all good. I'm good. I want to see Brent's beard. Is what I want to see.
No, nobody wants that.
So who's allowed to grow facial? Hold on a second. Who's allowed to grow facial hair on TSN? You said
at the
time,
have
to be like a certain. You have to be a desk guy, probably in Toronto. Is that kind of the
Gino Retta, Jay and Dan, and I think Rod Smith were the only ones that were allowed. I don't believe any reporter. The rule used to be you could have facial hair, but you couldn't grow it during the season. So basically, you either had a full beard or you didn't. Yeah.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Like, I worked all the time. I would never be allowed. I could never grow it. So,
you know what though? I can understand it, Wally, because you guys always look so professional. Like when you were always working and you got the clean shave, like it just, to me at least, it looks very professional. So I can kind of understand it.
I agree to a point, but then you see like you, or it was Aaron Ward or I don't know, Marty Biron, like all the former players that do it. It doesn't look disheveled. You don't look like a mess.
No, I agree. So, I think, yeah, that's fair.
I think at some point, like on all stuff, you may have to, and funny for me to say relax a little, but I think you got to relax a little and maybe let some of that stuff go. Like Kevin Bieksa is another one, right? Like he doesn't look terrible. That's the way he looks. Yeah, like you look funny when you shave.
I know. Thank you.
Like you look 10 years younger.
That's okay. I don't get offended by that. If it was up to me, I'd grow it all the time. But I get worried. You're going to TV and you're like, are you going to get a phone call after?
No.
Telling you to shave it? Because that'd be pretty humiliating. So I try to find a happy medium.
It's funny you say that. There's a playoff series in Toronto, first round, obviously, with Ottawa. And my executive producer calls me at the time, but it's during a live hit, so I can't answer the phone. So I call him, Brent and Marc, call me back. I'm like, and we never chat usually. So I call him back. Hey, Marc, what's going on? He's like, that tie you're wearing. I'm like, yeah, don't wear it again. Like, okay. That was it.
Oh,
Never saw
that's
that
tough.
tie again.
And you just gotta be like, oh, my kids bought me this for Christmas,
Well,
or you try to guilt them a little bit.
Because it was just, I think, as we were switching over to HD or whatever, but the tie, I think the lines were too busy, so he would just do that funny wave. So I was like, yeah, okay, never doing that again.
She gone.
Yeah. It was a purple tie. That's all I remember.
Psychedelic tie. Yeah, that's fun.
Anyway, all right, boys. We'll see you next week. You're watching the Wally Methot Show. Take care.